Welcome into the Skinny Podcast, the weekly potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor with Rick Broering. We've got a lot to get to, but before we get to the sports things, I have to get to the main thing of this podcast at the moment that everybody's interested in. Taco Bell Day, what and what have we had of late?
We're on day 13. I do have
of course you have it handy.
Ranch grilled steak burrito sitting here waiting for me. I'll eat it as we go through this podcast, but that's become my new go-to. We talked about it last week, that new $3 Chipotle Ranch grilled steak burrito. I've hammered that like 3 or 4 times now since having it for the first time last week.
So are we putting any sauce on it or just it stands alone?
It can go alone, but yeah, I typically do fire sauce.
Yeah, okay, all right. I know you do that with other things. I just didn't know if you did it with this. Because sometimes, like fire sauce with a taco or something like that, you got to have. I don't do fire. I do hot. I do, and I think it's just got a nice flavor. I like heat, but I like flavor, and I think it's got actually a nice flavor to like I've got a bottle of Skyline sauce, hot sauce in my fridge, and occasionally I have a hankering to just burn my mouth with crackers and some cheddar cheese. But when you get done, you're like, gosh darn it, the flavor's okay. The heat's what does it, I guess, for us, and we just challenge ourselves. But I like the combination of heat and flavor, and I think to that point that the Taco Bell hot sauce has a nice combination. Yeah,
I'm constantly in pursuit of exactly what you're talking about. Really good heat combined with a really good flavor. It's pretty rare. There are a few wing places that have some really good sauces like that. But yeah, Taco Bell's hot sauce is pretty good, and I always go with the fire on pretty much everything I eat there.
So like when I make chicken noodle soup in the wintertime, and I'm a big chicken noodle soup wintertime guy, I rotate my soups. It's a tomato some days made with milk. Do you make tomato soup with milk?
I hate tomato soup. Not even with grilled cheese. Yeah.
Oh, I love tomato soup. Just stand alone. I just drink it like it's a drink. I love tomato soup in a cold winter day.
It's like,
but if I do chicken noodle soup, I usually put Frank's hot sauce in there to give it some flavor, and then like 3 or 4 dashes of the Skyline, and the Skyline always overwhelms the taste. I still like it. I still eat it, but it's like, do I want to do the Skyline today? And then I'm like, I sure do. And it's only like 3 or 4 droplets, and then you can taste the Frank's enough, but the Skyline just it overwhelms it. It doesn't kill it. It just overwhelms it.
I like Skyline's hot sauce. I will say that.
Too. I'm with you.
All right, well, we want to talk about some Bengals news here to start off the show. I guess secondary here. Yeah, after Taco Bell. All right, so today we're recording this on Wednesday. We've got some stuff. I want to talk about Germaine Burton missing time this week, but there was a fight today at practice. So let's start with that. What happened in the fight, and what do you have for us? What's the scoop?
All right, so Shamar Stewart was running with the ones because Myles Murphy was out. He kind of limped off of practice yesterday. I don't think it's anything major. I don't know that for a fact, but I don't think it is because he kind of kept participating, but he kept limping off. So he was out today. So Shamar Stewart got to run with the ones. And the first drive they had 2 long 30-minute periods. Usually they go in, 10-minute chunks of, like red zone, 3rd and 5s, 3rd and 3s. And it's always 10-minute chunks, 7-on-7. Today was a 30-minute 11-on-11 period, 2 of them, as a matter of fact. And so early, the offense just moved right down the field, scored a touchdown. They just dominated. From that point forward, the defense dominated. Offense didn't do anything after that. It was the 2nd or 3rd series. Shamar's playing a left end spot. He loops, and he gets around. He gets under. It looked like Lucas Patrick Ted Karras kind of like squeezed through the hole, and you could tell he was stumbling. And he stumbles, unfortunately, right about Joe Burrow's kneecaps. Then Joe kind of stumbles backwards and goes down. And I think the offense assumed he was making a dirty play and trying to hurt Joe Burrow. And I get it. So they kind of pile on him. They separate, go their separate ways. Shamar comes out for a couple of plays. I'm going to guess the defensive staff's like, get him out. Let's talk to him for a second. Probably remind him of who he is if worse comes to worse. So come back in. Same almost scenario. He loops again. Lucas Patrick engages him and then drives him to the ground, and it's game on at that point. Everybody's labeled it as a fight, and we're kind of making a big deal of it because that's where we are in camp. Excuse me. You make big deals of everything. It wasn't that big of a deal. And I will say this. After practice, we all gathered around Shamar's locker, and he said, I'm not talking today, guys. Fine, I get it. So I went to talk to Ted Karras and Lucas Patrick, and they're talking about, hey, we got to protect number 9. But to their credit, they've also said, we got to block better. I mean, we got to do a better job of protecting. And I thought that was a good place to go. Like, we're trying to make sure the kid understands you're not going to hurt our quarterback. And I truly don't think he was, Rick, because there was another play later on in practice. Joe scrambles out to his left. Shamar is right in his face and then jumps up to try to bat a pass down. And he could have clobbered Joe. I mean, he could have clobbered him. You could just tell he angled off to the side to make sure he didn't hit him. I think the kid's smart enough to understand if I hit this guy in a practice, the whole team's, even my defensive teammates are going to kill me. I do think it was just an accident. It was, one of those ones where I get why the offense freaked out a little bit. We're at that point in camp too, where, okay, all we got is each other at the moment, just beating on each other. It was a long period. It was going to be a long period. And so I don't make too much out of it, but it was always interesting. Those fights are always interesting.
Are we sure whether or not that was the specificity in the contract holdup that, that could non-guarantee his deal if he injures Joe Burrow? That's what wiped it all out. That's what Correct. They were fighting over, maybe.
Correct. But I will tell you this, the dude is sudden. He's violent. He shows up. And today with the ones, it was like, okay, man, you're still balling right now. Let's see where this goes.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. We'll get to Jermaine Burton in a second here too, because I think that's kind of the other big story of the week. But Joseph Ossai is out with an injury. He got hurt on Saturday?
He did, but he practiced today. So the two ends when they started practice were Ossai and then and Shamar. It was funny though. Raymond Johnson, I think, was the third. They're so banged up at end at them. I mean, there's no Trey, there's no Myles. Cedric Johnson's hurt. It was Raymond Johnson, who I think was the third end in, I believe. That's how bad they are off at defensive end at the moment.
We knew they didn't have Trey with Ossai and then now Murphy kind of going out at staggering times here. Has that, do you think, potentially opened up the door for Shamar to get those reps with the ones and then just kind of never relinquish that role here?
I do. I think if push came to shove in the world we live in sports, right, you're always going to trust the guy you know more of. You know more of Joseph Ossai. You may not like it as a fan, but last year at the end of the year, he played well enough to get another contract. They liked him enough to sign him to another contract. True. So I do think in a normal world, you'll see Joseph start at one end and Trey at the other end, and then Shamar getting some rotational snaps. I mean, it's early in the season, right? It's September. Trey will probably not have much of training camp, if any of training camp. And so you're going to have to keep him fresh. I mean, I could foresee a total four-man rotation of Myles getting some snaps, getting a chunk of snaps too, or even Myles starting over Joseph. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think it's a good problem to have, because I think now you have at least three ends. Joseph, again, had a good end of last year. I think he's had a good camp. You know what you got in Trey. You're seeing Shamar show up. Myles is number 4 in that rotation. That's not awful. It's not perfect, because you'd like your 2023 first-round draft pick to be more than a rotational piece, but it's not awful. So I think you'd be in a good place at defensive end, to be honest.
All right, let's talk about Jermaine Burton. He's missing some time right now. It sparked some concern earlier this week when just out of nowhere, he's not at practice. No one says anything about it. They say it's an undisclosed injury. And like rumors start running rampant, and not even necessarily rumors, just speculation of, hey, it's always kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop with this guy after what happened last year. He's been doing good so far this camp, but I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if all of a sudden he had a slip up and was kind of off the straight and narrow path again. So there's a lot of conversation about that. He took offense to all of that. He said, no, I'm just injured. What's the latest on Jermaine Burton's situation now?
So he's been on the rehab field the last 2 days. We didn't really see him on Tuesday because they practiced indoors. The rehab field is on the normal practice fields, but I was told he was out there. He did come and watch that practice on Tuesday in the bubble after he did his workout. He was definitely seen on the rehab field as we do this today on a Wednesday. We saw him earlier, so he's on the rehab field doing stuff. I'm still skeptical, but I guess you got to give benefit of the. You don't have to give benefit of the doubt. I'm skeptical is all I am, because here's the timeline of this. So they play a game on Thursday. Didn't see him get hurt. They're off on Friday. He practices full on Saturday, and Saturday was grueling. It was from 2:00, about 2:15 to about 4:20 in the sun. I mean, everybody was baked. Writers were baked. Broadcasters were baked, players were baked. It was brutal, right? But he practiced in full. Never saw him go off with an injury. Again, he could have. So the next day, Sunday, is a morning practice. So you have that late, grueling afternoon practice. You have a guy with a history of missing or being late to meetings and practice. And the first thing you think of is you don't see him out there. And Kelsey Conway from the Inquirer and I were like, let's go walk over to the rehab field just to make sure. Maybe something happened yesterday we didn't see. Let's go see if he's on the rehab field. Go over. He's not there. So he's not seen at all, Rick. I mean, that's the part to me that was the red flag. You don't see him at all. Okay. And so what day were I? My days are running together. So
that was after Sunday, right?
Yeah. So then we are on to, Monday, because we had Tuesday off. So Monday we had a press conference with Zach, and I asked the very first question and said, when did he get hurt? What's he dealing with? He said, well, I think he got hurt in the game. And then, we had a day off, and a quick follow-up question was, well, then why did he practice in full on Saturday? Well, he had a day off, and then, he finally reported it to us, and he's dealing with some swelling. Swelling where? No. Again, is it possibly an injury? Yes. The fact that they were stupid enough to not just say on Sunday, hey, just as a heads up, Jermaine's hurt. We didn't know he was hurt. That's why he practiced yesterday. He told us today he's hurt. He won't be out here on the field. And instead it was conversation between PR staff and Zach. And finally they came up with an undisclosed injury day to day. I'm sorry that sounds fishy. I'm sorry he doesn't get benefit of the doubt. He hasn't earned benefit of the doubt. If it is an injury, okay, I hope you get over it, my man. I hope that's all it was, nothing more, nothing less. And because it could be a great, I've told you this on the podcast, this could be a great redemption story. He's a different guy. He's been a different guy, but his past history suggests ain't overly reliable, man.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't understand why, his comments were, hey, this affects me and my family when people go out and report things that are untrue. It was just an injury, nothing else. It's like, my guy, just zip it. Like you lost that whole benefit of the doubt with your actions last year. Now people are going to think that of you, and you have to change that narrative over time. It's not going to be overnight. You don't all of a sudden get that type of treatment because you showed up for a few weeks of training camp on time. That's not how any of this works. And, it kind of goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about with Jizzle James last week and everything. It's like when you get paid a lot of money and you're in the public eye, and part of what you get paid for is to be in the public eye, people are going to talk about those things, and you're going to people are going to talk about your past actions and your past history and the things that you have done. To me, it's like, man, just shut up. Even if you are just injured, that's fine. You don't have to do the whole, people shouldn't be saying these salacious rumors about me. It's affecting me and my family. It's like, really, is it?
So let me put my own coach hat on for a moment of how I would deal with this. And it feels like very similar to how Zach Taylor's dealing with this. And he's got a different dynamic because he has an owner and a de facto GM to report to and all those things. So let's go through that dynamic of this story of Zach going, my guy, you're late again. What am I supposed to do? And maybe he goes to them and goes, I can't do this anymore. And they're like, dude, he's only in the second year of his contract. He's been pretty good up to this point. It's only one slip up. It wasn't a major slip up. I get it. We're going to have to figure out a way to handle this. And so, you can say he's on the rehab field dealing with an injury. You know what, as a coach, I would do if they told me, dude, you got to keep him. We're going to try to make this work as best as possible. We're going to figure out a story. You know what I'm going to do? Buddy, screw you. You're not going to practice for the next 2 days. Go over to the rehab field and just run your ass off. Have a good day. And when we figure this out and I figure out to have you back, I'll have you back. That's the way it's a win for both sides of it. Again, maybe it is an injury. I don't want to say it's not because I don't know that for a fact. But just the way the story is unfolded of, I think he got hurt in the game on Thursday. Okay, then why did he practice on Saturday? And then, okay, if he was hurt and he's dealing with some swelling, why did he rehab the last 2 days and then didn't rehab on Sunday? And wasn't even around. He was in the locker room afterwards. It makes it feel like he showed up and goes, hey, I'm here. I'm in the locker. You just stay in the locker room, my guy. That's why this story just doesn't hold weight with me. I'm sorry it doesn't. Again, I hope that's all it is. Even if it wasn't, that he can, again, take maybe one final life lesson of, gosh, dang, I was doing so well. I can't do this again. Listen, we all know the gambler, the drug addict, the alcoholic, they've all relapsed. Maybe not all. I shouldn't say all. That's not fair. But they've relapsed. There's relapses that take place. Could this be a relapse of what he was? Absolutely, it could be. Could it just be an injury? The point to me is, if you knew going into Sunday we weren't going to see him, you don't think it was going to run red flags with us as journalists of, holy shit, where's Jermaine? Why? He's not even on the rehab. He's not even here. That's
the whole thing. There wouldn't have been the scrambling and the needing to come up with undisclosed injury and not having that storyline in a row if something had really happened. I mean, they would have known ahead of time and they would have been like, oh, people are going to be all over this. We better get out in front of it. I mean, you're right about that part of it. It seems a little bit fishy when you put it that way. And, this could just be the simple fact of the guy has an issue of waking up on time. Like, maybe he got up late for a morning practice. It might be as simple as that. It might not be like some huge, crazy issue that he's got, some deep secret or anything, but like that just goes back to the reliability thing. And again, it's something that he has to overcome with time. If he keeps doing the right things, he'll be fine and people will stop saying these things about him. But for now, it's like, just keep your head down, man, and zip it.
Correct. The part of him clapping back was really interesting to me. It just
shocking.
You haven't earned that. You just haven't. And again, maybe you're right. Maybe that's all it is. But I go back to, if that's all it was, you don't think that the PR staff and the head coach wouldn't have gotten out in front of that on Sunday just to say, hey, you guys aren't going to see Germaine at practice today. Just want to let you know he's hurt. No, we kind of had to sniff it out ourselves and go, wait a minute, where is he? And then, and then again, the question I asked directly on Monday is, when did he get hurt? Oh, I think in the Thursday game. I think. Did he get hurt in the Thursday game or not?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems awfully fishy. It really does. Geno Stone, week to week with hamstring injury after the Eagles game. Have you heard anything else since the diagnosis or the report that he's going to be out for some time?
Yeah, the last time we talked to him, I think the day after or the next practice after, and he said he didn't think it was too big of a deal. But, man, you know how that stuff is with soft tissues and hamstrings and all that. You may think it's going to be okay quickly. It's not. Mike Gesicki's not back yet. It hurt his hurt his hamstring on August 2nd, that night practice. It is August 13th. He's not back yet. Again, I'm not here to tell you they need to rush either one of those guys. There's no reason for that. But it doesn't mean it's not concerning. And you know, that depth at the safety spot is alarming at the moment. It's just completely alarming.
And that's where, I mean, I'm not super confident in Geno Stone being a starter and like a stalwart for this defense. But if he's out, Skinny, like what? That's a real issue for this defense going into the season. What's the plan here?
Yeah, they've been rotating Tyson Anderson with the ones, Dejon Anthony with the ones on Saturday. And I ended up writing about it because I thought he was super interesting and he was such a fun interview. He didn't give great answers, but he was I've never seen an NFL player be so happy to talk the media in his life like PJ Jules was. So PJ Jules had a nice game in Philly, had 6 solo tackles, and actually tied for the team lead, had the most solo tackles of anybody. It's usually not a good sign when the safety's leading you in tackles, but still had a nice game, nice quiet game against backups, all those things. And then on Saturday, comes up with an interception in the end zone, a nice diving grab, made a good read on the play, came over, cut it off, intercepted it. And then on the very next rep, he's in there with the first team. And, you know, I talked to Jordan Kovacs the next day, the safeties coach, because I was doing a story on PJ, and just said, you know, you put him in right away. Was that like reactionary to what he did? He goes, when a guy makes a play like that, give him a shot. So I thought I ran him in with the ones. I don't think PJ is going to be a one, but I thought it was really interesting. Now, this is a kid that was pretty much a nickel linebacker, box safety in college, who hasn't played much single high, hasn't played much double high. He's kind of learning on the fly, but Jordan Kovacs sounded very high on him. And, you know, maybe it isn't out. I mean, Mike Hilton at one point in his career in Pittsburgh didn't play as an undrafted free agent, was a practice squad guy. Mike Hilton became a pretty good guy. We've seen that across the league, right? Like, all it takes is opportunity for a guy. Do I think PJ Jules jumps to the opportunity? I just don't know, because I don't know if he has enough experience to do it yet. But we've seen that guy do that. I think there are always interesting stories of guys who can do that. And he's done nothing but show up. He works his tail end off. He made a point of, I didn't go on no trips. I didn't go nowhere. I just stayed here and worked. Again, you know, that's kind of cliche-ish of I work hard. Well, he sounds like he's a guy that probably outworks everybody because he has to, and he knows he has to. I think those are cool stories.
I would assume, based on the fact that they haven't brought anybody else in yet, that there's nobody out there on the free agent market they feel worthy of bringing in to try to solidify that safety spot. But I'll ask it one more time. I mean, with Geno Stone being out right now, do you think they take another look at adding somebody?
I don't, because from what I understand, the reason they were reticent to do this is they believe Geno and Jordan are the starters.
The guy that they asked to take a pay cut.
Correct. No, okay. I'm just giving you this explanation.
Yeah. No, I know they're super confident. I understand that.
And if they brought a veteran who has some skins in the game, Justin Simmons is probably the last of the Mohicans out there at the safety spot, who has skins in the game and starts in the game, has been a starter, that when you have a third safety, which that guy in theory would be, or a Geno Stone, that they're not special teams guys. And that guy has to be a special teams guy. And they just don't think that that's where they want to go with this. Now, again, if it's an extended period of time for Geno Stone, like this lingers into deep into next week, maybe into the week after, which is that interim week between the end of the preseason and the start of the regular season, and you're like, man, I don't know if he's going to be ready enough. I think you would be doing a disservice if it may not be a Justin Simmons. It may be another lower level free agent. I haven't done a deep dive into free agent safeties that are out there, that maybe that's you bring that guy in, and maybe the lower level guy does have an ability to play special teams. But that's what I understand is they didn't want to bring in a third safety who doesn't play special teams, because that is Darren Simmons. Actually, we talked to him last week, and I think Paul Inter asked him of, the third and fourth safety role. I mean, how much of that is a special team role? And he goes, that's the definition of the job. If you're the third and the fourth safety, you got to be core special teams guys. Well, if Geno's a starter because he somehow comes back and is healthy, and Jordan's a starter, and this veteran guy comes in and can't play special teams, then they don't feel comfortable with that. I'm not telling you it's right. I'd rather have a third safety that I can go, yeah, he's a plug-and-play safety. I don't know about Tyson Anderson. I don't know about Dejon Anthony. I don't know about P.J. Jules. Between the three of them, they've played 11 NFL defensive snaps, all by Dejon Anthony. I mean, again, you may like them, but when you put them in under fire, what's that going to look like? It may look great. It may look like crap.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, one, again, I don't love Geno Stone to begin with, but let's say he does sustain some type of injury during the season and, first quarter of a game, and you're stuck with one of those guys riding out the rest of the game, feels like you're going to get picked on. That's just how it seems to me. BJ Hill, last guy I want to talk about in terms of injury. He was back practicing this week, right?
Yeah, he's doing individual drills, has not done any team stuff. I thought he might ramp up the team stuff today. He did not. In fact, during there was another third brief dust up where guys were yapping at each other, and BJ Hill actually walked out there. He didn't have his helmet and was saying something to the offensive guys, I think trying to back up his guy, Shamar Stewart, and the rest of his group. So he was out there. He was active. He just is not ready to participate yet, or they're not comfortable with that yet. But I think it's trending in the right direction. We need to see him in some 11 on 11s. Maybe we see it this weekend, Rick. They're off, obviously, tomorrow on Thursday. They practice in full pads Friday, Saturday. Friday's probably a tougher practice. Saturday probably lighter because you're closer to the game, and then Sunday you travel, Monday you play. Maybe if you can get him into some team stuff this weekend, you get him a handful of snaps in Washington and then see where that goes. And he's obviously not going to play the last preseason game. None of the starters are. So if you're going to get him some preseason reps, it would be in this game, and maybe we ramp up to that. But it's trending in the right direction. He just hasn't done anything in team.
All right. One other thing that I wanted to get to, well, a couple other things I wanted to get to, but we'll start with this. From The Athletic, Mike Sando put out his quarterback tier rankings report thing that he does from year to year. There were two quarterbacks, only two, that were unanimous tier 1 QBs. That was Pat Mahomes and Joe Burrow. There were three other guys, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Matthew Stafford, who made it into that first tier. Skinny, your thoughts on Mahomes, Burrow being tied for number 1 overall? I mean, this is he does this by interviewing execs and scouts and all those types of people.
Good stuff.
What is your kind of thoughts on those two guys being the only unanimous decisions at tier 1?
Yeah, listen, Lamar Jackson has not gotten his team to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen has not gotten his team to a Super Bowl. In fantasy football, I mean, honestly, I'm a little surprised Jalen Hurts wasn't a little higher. I mean, Jalen Hurts is never going to wow you with numbers, but Jalen Hurts wins. He wins with his legs. He wins with his arm. He just wins. And there's always something. I know that there's a thing on Pro Football Reference, right, where it shows a quarterback's starting win-loss record, and that's never completely fair, right, because you don't win games or lose games by yourself, but you're attached to that. And I always think there's something to that of, who does find ways to win? Who does, unfortunately, find ways to lose? And Jalen Hurts, to me, he's a winner. I mean, you don't have to like his mechanics. Go ahead.
He was 10th. I was just going to. Yeah.
And I think he should be much higher than that. I mean, I like Matthew Stafford. He's won a Super Bowl. But at this stage of his career, I'm not sure he's in that mix. Listen, I don't think there's a person on the planet who doesn't wear Bengals rose-colored glasses who wouldn't say, if you give me one quarterback to take in this league, you're taking Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you're almost ignorant if you don't, right? I mean, winner, stats, playmaker, unscripted playmaker, tough, all of those things. But I'm not so sure. I'm not there with Joe Burrow being number 2. Again, he's gotten a team to a Super Bowl. He's gotten a team to an AFC Championship game. Lamar hasn't gotten a Super Bowl. Josh Allen hasn't gotten a Super Bowl. Both are great talents. And in fantasy football, if you're drafting because of their legs and the things they do, you're probably drafting those two guys ahead of Joe Burrow if you're smart. But when it comes to real football, I think they got it right. I think that's about right. Again, if you had to separate the two, it's hard. It's almost impossible to not take Mahomes, right? It's just almost impossible.
I would go with Mahomes, but I was surprised a little bit that they feel that Burrow is that close. I thought there would have been more separation. I thought maybe Mahomes would have been the only unanimous. I mean, you would figure everyone would have Burrow in that top tier after last year, but he wasn't unanimous a year ago. He wasn't unanimous the year before that. So I could have seen Burrow being more in that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson group and not unanimous and tied for number one with Mahomes.
All right, so here's Joe Burrow's 3 fully healthy seasons, 21, 22, and last season 24. Had the calf issue and wrist issue in 23, and obviously suffered the knee injury as a rookie. 21, he leads a moribund franchise to a Super Bowl. In 22, he leads same moribund franchise to championship game. Last season, he has the best single season of a Bengals quarterback in history, completing 70% of his passes for 43 touchdowns, 9 picks, and 108 passer rating. How about him in 3 full seasons? How's that for a resume in 3 full seasons?
It's incredible. Yeah. And I think the comment the Sando made was he's the closest thing to Joe Montana, which is the highest compliment I can give a quarterback.
I think he's more of a gunslinger than Joe Montana. I don't want to use game manager. That's not fair for Joe Montana. Again, Joe Montana was he was just a winner. You need a 6-yard run on 3rd and 5, he'd give it to you. You need a 12-yard in route on 3rd and 11, he'd give it to you. You need to make a special play at the end of a game like he did to Dwight Clark in the NFC Championship game in 81, he's going to give it to you. He's going to win. He's going to make play like he did against the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals in the Super Bowl had him beat, and he had one drive to win it, and he took him down the field and won it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's another guy that's just a winner. But from a sheer talent standpoint, I think Joe's a better player. Burrow.
You said Stafford as a guy that you weren't sure was still in this group at this point in his career. So it sounds like he might be the guy that you would drop out of tier 1 into tier 2 if you asked to do that. Is there a guy in tier 2 that you would move up potentially?
I'd move Jalen Hurts up, man. Again, what else?
How close are you? How close are you on Jaden Daniels?
He's close, but it's 1 year, so I think that's what dings him. I'm close on Jared Goff too. Jared Goff is, I mean, he was a good quarterback in LA who took his team to a Super Bowl, and then just from a sheer statistical standpoint, again, taking a moribund franchise who did, to their credit, did a great job rebuilding it on both sides of the ball. The Lions. That guy's good, man. I mean, he's got guys to throw to. He's got a great running game to lean on. But what was it, that 15 for 15 or 18 for whatever that one crazy night was where he just didn't miss a throw? And that's just one game. I get it. But he does that a lot where you're like, this dude is just absurd. So he'd move up. Him and Jalen Hurts would move up for me.
You know what's funny to me is like 2 years ago, a big conversation at the time, and Josh Allen was another guy included this, but was Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
those two guys were compared constantly. Right. And it felt like a lot of people took Justin Herbert in that debate. And I always questioned that. I was like, why? What do people see from Justin Herbert that they like better? I mean, big arm.
The arm talent. Yeah, you see the arm talent. I mean, the arm talent's absurd. I mean,
bigger arm, a little bit better athlete maybe overall, but not that much. I mean, Burrow's a better athlete than I think some people realize. And I just, from all the intangibles and all the other stuff that you see on a game in, game out basis, it always felt like Burrow was the more special quarterback.
So the thing that amazes me about Burrow and just even watching him in practices, it's like you watch him throw a ball and in my mind it's always like, oh, that was easy. That looked easy. He made that look easy. And it could be, again, he's thrown to a couple pretty damn good receivers, but it always just looks effortless and easy, like know where to go with it. I'm going to put it right on the money. Ball placement's always good. Again, does he have a howitzer? No. Is it still a good arm? Oh, sure. I mean, you can't play that position without having a good arm. I don't know if it's a great arm. Maybe it is a great arm. Maybe I don't see enough. But it just always looks effortless and easy. Like I think we take that for granted of, oh yeah, 3rd and 10 there. Joe just made that throw into that tight window. That looked easy. Well, you know what? There's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that can't make that throw. They can't put that ball placement. They can't feather it here, feather it there. That's the thing I think that gets taken way for granted when people look at him. It just looks effortless and easy. Like I'm back on my back foot. Here's where the ball has to go. I processed that quickly. I made the perfect out route throw. I made the perfect corner route throw. It just looks too effortless and easy. And I think everybody takes that for granted.
when I look at the tier 2 list, it's Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy. To me, it feels like there's
that's a good group, by the way. I mean, for a tier 2 group, you give me any of those guys, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Admittedly, I'm not diving into all these guys' numbers, and I don't even play fantasy football and all that, so I'm not as in tune with some of the NFL stats and stuff as a lot of people are. I'm not Mr. NFL. It feels to me like you could take a line, put it right under Jalen Hurts' name there at number 10, and maybe divide this tier into 2 tiers here. It feels like there's a big difference between Daniels, Herbert, Goff, Stroud, Hurts, and Mayfield, Prescott, Love, Purdy to me.
That's probably fair because Brock Purdy has gotten labeled as a game manager with weapons, and that's probably not an unfair thing. But again, to his credit, doesn't make mistakes, can make a big throw, can run, can use his feet, knows where to go with it. We'll see what he does this year. I mean, he lost a couple of weapons in his receiving core. Dak can do gunslinger things, but then Dak can also throw you 2 picks in the first quarter and you're down 14-0 because of that. And then he'll gunsling you back to the point of going 36. Trust me, he was my fantasy quarterback last year. He drove me crazy, but he also at times you go, garbage time, let's go. Here we go. Put up my numbers. That's all I care about. And those numbers look great at the end of the day. But I'm kind of with you. And I do think CJ Stroud, to your point, is in that group where you would draw the line. He'd be in front of the line of that second tier guy too. I think your point's a good one. If you drew the line where you think you draw it, that's probably a different tier altogether. I do appreciate the exercise, and I think it does show you there's some good quarterbacks in this league at the moment, really good quarterbacks in this league, and you better have one of them because if you're like in that bottom 4, 5, or 6 that don't have one, you're in a lot of trouble.
It felt like we were in a downswing for a handful of years there where it was like, man, there's only 3 or 4 or 5 guys that you feel like you could really win a Super Bowl with right in the NFL period right now. And now all of a sudden you look through this list and like you said, I mean, you feel like you can go certainly 10 deep, but maybe all the way down to the bottom of that tier 2 and feel like you have a legit chance of winning a Super Bowl with those guys, especially when they've got Jalen Hurts right in the middle of that tier 2.
Right. But I think to your Baker Mayfield, to that next group, they all have that flaw of, man, they could put up some numbers and then they always make the dumb throw. You're like, why? Why?
You feel like with those guys, you need like an elite defense or like a super talented receiving core with them or something like that that's going to give you the chance. And you're going to need a special season. But it is a good list.
Now, when I tell you, if I'm Cleveland, I don't look back and go, why did we not let the string keep running out with Baker Mayfield? He did a lot of good things for us.
They have to feel so dumb about that. But at the same time, I'm not going to say it felt like it was over when Baker Mayfield left Cleveland.
It felt over.
But that, I mean, there's in Cleveland, things run their course. And it does feel like, I don't know that Baker Mayfield could have gotten Cleveland over the hump. Not that was his fault.
Right.
Cleveland, there's something about some of these cities where it takes someone that's like incredibly special, like Joe Burrow, to get them right.
I think the most impressive thing he did was, I can't remember if it was a Thursday night or a Monday night game. Or remember he played for the Rams for a couple of games where they had nobody. They had to go pick somebody. And he picked that stuff up so fast, and I think that's where he earned that next deal in Tampa. Like, okay, dude's still got some juice. Let's see what he's got. And to his credit, he's taking it and run with it. I give him a lot of credit.
Well, it's almost like people were lumping him into the Johnny Manziel category.
Yes.
Like he was the same type of guy. And it's like they're opposite humans. I mean, I get sort of the comparisons in the way their college careers went and the name they built for themselves and all of that. But like, yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield, like you said, it clearly is a high IQ football guy that can pick up on this stuff and lead your organization on a moment's notice. And I think that spoke a lot about him when he was able to do that.
But boy, to your point, I do love where you drew the line. I mean, it's almost perfect. Like I can pick apart all those next guys like I just did to some degree, but also go, boy, I really like what they do here and there and everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. All of those guys right after. I mean, Dak Prescott, I feel like gets a lot of flack, probably unfairly. I think he's actually pretty good, and there's been some unfortunate circumstances that has led to him not having more team success maybe, but I'm also okay with him being below that line. Like again, he's another guy that you could argue his team hasn't gone where you would think they should go. Correct. Given the money spent and the talent they've had. So
agreed.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears to the Reds. And while we do that, I will dive into my Chipotle ranch.
Get your bite.
Steak burrito from Taco Bell.
Get your bite, my man. Oh, brother. Did you get the sauce on it yet? Come on now. Give me some sauce on that. I want to watch your eyes bug out. Don't shortchange the people, Rick Broering. Give them what they want. They want fire sauce on top of that Taco Bell. They want to watch your eyes. What, you got a drink handy, buddy?
I do, but I hate to tell you, the fired sauce isn't going to do anything for me. I'm like a supreme heat level guy. You can't.
Because you're like So are you one of you're not one of those like crazy chicken wing eating or like the pepper eating, like the people that try to go off the Carolina Reaper nonsense and all that. You don't do that, do you?
No, I don't like those challenges because like we talked about, I like heat with flavor. Yes. I don't like heat for the sake of heat just to torture myself. So Correct. I don't go for that because I don't like it.
I'm not sure
I can handle most heat.
Why is that a thing? Just because it's a thing, like who can handle this the most? I'm more manly than you are.
Skinny, you're talking to a guy who's eating Taco Bell every day and recording it. So I don't think I'm probably the right person to ask about why that's like, it's a thing because people do stuff like this. They record themselves doing stupid things for the internet. That's why.
I don't think this is stupid. I find this extraordinarily interesting because I just don't, God love you, man. You're going to get a cult following off of this. It looks delicious. I mean, could I eat that right now? I absolutely could. Could I eat it for 30 straight days? Man, I don't know.
Well, we're 13 in right now.
I know you are.
The Reds are 63-58 overall. They're third in the NL Central, 13 games back of the Brewers, but just 2 back of the Mets, who have lost 8 of their last 10, Skinny. The wild card is getting interesting. The big news, though, Hunter Greene is back tonight as we're recording this on Wednesday. He's going to make a start. His last start was June 3rd.
I am super interested in this as we're doing this, Rick. We're actually, if I just want to be full disclosure, it's 3:16. The game is roughly 2 hours from start. It's sunny at the moment. It feels, unfortunately, like to me, like this is when the rain comes in after Hunter pitches 1 inning, and that's just, it's like the Chase Burns start, right? Like he gets his inning in, you're like, wow, okay, Hunter's back. And then they got to shut him down because of I just hope that doesn't happen because we are supposed to get rain at some point today. I am super interested. I don't know if you saw Jason Williams' column in the Inquirer. I thought it was fair. I'm going to guess some fans didn't think it was. We're like, it's time for Hunter Greene to give back a little here. Like they've given him all the rope to say I'm healthy despite all the reports being MRIs are fine, MRIs are clean. So it's time. And, you know, he's such a conundrum.
It's time meaning what? Like that we should have high expectations for his return?
Well, like maybe this should have happened sooner. Like, I mean, dude. All the reports where you're physically fine, and yet you're trying to make this, I got to be 100%. Well, that's all well and good, but you've been 100% and keep getting hurt all the time. And again, I go back to, it just feels like he's just so jacked up that this is a guy that's going to be dealing with this crap. And I don't know if I want to deal with this crap any longer. I want him healthy. He's great. He is great. I don't want that to be forgotten. He has developed from the just sheer fastball guy with a 4.50 ERA to legitimate under 3 ERA guy who pitches. I need to see that more. I think the Reds deserve to see that more. I think that he honestly took too damn long to come back. And I'll tell you, you get hurt early in this, buddy, I'm out. I'm just out.
He took his time to come back. There's no question about that. I can live with that if he comes back and he's ready to go. Yes. The thing I don't want to hear is he took all this time off and he comes back and struggles. And it's like, well, he's got to work himself back into shape and he's got to like get sharp again. It's like, no. He took all this extra time to get himself sharp, to make sure he was 100% and ready to go when he returned. I know a lot of that was physical, but I would imagine he's been working on, he's been getting back up to speed, and he should be ready to go when he gets back into this mix now because they're in the middle of a wild card chase, and they need him.
Yeah. I mean, I hope, honestly, I hope he sticks it up my ass to the point of 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, 91 pitches, and goes, drop the mic, let's go. All right, man, good. I hope you do.
It feels like almost, I mean, obviously if he puts up that type of outing, they'll let him go 6 innings, but it feels like this is going to be your classic, like pull him after 4 or 5 or something like that.
A pitch count. Yeah, I think there's a pitch count to it, whatever, 80, 85, whatever. I said 90. That's probably, you're right. That's probably reaching the limits of it. 80, 85, I'm good with that. But again, that also means you need to be pitch efficient, or it is only going to be 3 2/3.
The other part of this, though, is they brought in Littell a couple weeks ago at the trade deadline, and you add another guy to the rotation partly because you were down Hunter Greene. Now that you have both of those guys in theory going forward, and you also have the Chase Burns situation lingering, what would be your move there, Skinny, with that last spot in the rotation? Who do you hand it to, and what do you do with the other guy?
All right, so you got Hunter. Lodolo hopefully comes back from the blister sooner rather than later. Abbott, Singer, Littell. I think, to me, Nick Martinez obviously stays in that Super bullpen role, kind of that total swing guy role. And I think Chase Burns goes to the bullpen, because he still has good stuff. You can use him in shorter periods. If there's an innings limit to him, this helps you limit innings while still getting something out of him. If he's going to be a starter moving forward, which I think he is, you'd like in a perfect world for him to get some more starts. But at the same time, to your point, you're in a playoff race. He has quality stuff. You're trying to limit innings, and you're trying to add another good arm to a bullpen that could use another good arm. I don't think that's an awful thing. I used to like when teams. And again, I know I'm going to probably date myself. When teams would bring up maybe their young phenom, I don't even know why he popped in my head. Bob Welch of the Dodgers in the late 70s.
I couldn't remember Bob Welch's call up.
Correct. Well, Bob Welch ended up being a really good starter on those great A's teams of the late 80s, early 90s, right? I think he won 27 games one year. He eventually became a starter. But he came up, and they didn't have a spot in a rotation for him, and they put him in the bullpen, and they're not doing. I think Johan Santana came up and pitched out of the Twins bullpen for a period. Some guys have done this. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. And so hey, I got a good arm. I got a guy with good stuff. I just don't have room in the rotation. We're trying to limit innings. So what a perfect world to do that in, other than to go, all right, Chase, you're going to get a clean 7th inning. We're up 3-1. You get the clean 7th inning and treat it like a start. I mean, here you go. You got 2 innings to get us to the 9th in my closer. You get 6 outs to play with. Give us your best 6 outs. I got to tell you this. You give me Chase Burns trying to give me my best 6 outs, I'll take that in a heartbeat.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. What a perfect role for Chase Burns. I mean, he just has gas, hard, electric stuff that the first time up when you see it, it is hard to catch up to. You know it's coming. You've seen it on film. You know his tendencies, and guys are still having major issues trying to touch him in those first at-bats. He is, in my opinion, the perfect candidate to put in a temporary relief role.
And that doesn't mean that's just to be long-term into next year or for his future. But what a perfect scenario for now to limit innings and get the most out of your team and your roster and this kid.
Yeah. No, I like that plan a lot. Something else with the Reds that caught my eye this week is MLB.com updated its farm system rankings. Do you know where the Reds landed?
19th.
No, much higher.
Wow.
Number 8 overall.
Nice. Okay.
Number 8 overall. Tied for the second most top 100 prospects in Major League Baseball with 6.
So here's my question. Is Chase Burns still lumped into the top 100 prospects, or they've taken him off?
He's cycled out of there.
Okay.
Brett Lauder is still in there because he's out, but yeah.
And that's fair. I don't think that's unfair. Okay, so yeah, that's tit for tat, but okay. If you'd have told me that, I probably would have gone 12th-ish, but yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah. The preseason rank was 11th. So they've moved up 3 spots if you're keeping track at home. Stewart's number.
Despite losing, a kid who I think was up there was Sammy Stafara.
Right. They still had him. You'd have probably 7 top 100 guys. I believe he was top 100. But yeah, Sal Stewart, second baseman, third baseman, infielder. He's 31st. Rhett Lauder, 63rd. Alfredo Duno, the catcher, is 75.
Played the futures game.
Tyson Lewis, the shortstop, 85. Steele Hall, shortstop, 89. And Cam Collier, infielder again, 100. Skinny, my question for you is this. I look at this and okay, you got Rhett Lauder as a pitcher. You got Alfredo Duno, but then Stewart, Lewis, Hall, Collier, bunch of infielders, multiple shortstop, third baseman type guys. What was the Brian Hayes move about again? Why did we? Why did they do that?
I think it was A for the short term because they didn't have a guy they felt ready to play there. It allowed them to move Noel to the outfield, and his bat is carried to the outfield quite well. He's actually, I don't know if he's a good outfielder. He made a nice running catch the other night. He's shown off a great arm.
Throwing a couple guys out.
Yeah, I mean,
when's the last time the Reds did that?
It feels like forever. It's a great point. It feels like a long time. And so, maybe you found a spot for him. And the short term was, we're not quite there yet with Sal Stewart. Cam Collier obviously hurt his thumb in spring. And I think Cam Collier would probably be higher on that list if he hadn't gotten hurt, which is a good thing. I mean, the fact he lands in there despite the injury situation. And again, I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have a dearth of infielders. I mean, if you come to the point of, in 2 years going, man, we got 2 other shortstops besides Ellie. Let's move Ellie around. I don't think that's ever a bad. I don't think position versatility is ever a bad thing.
I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but I guess for a team that's always strapped for cash and always complaining about a lack of money, I guess I don't really understand a guy who's around for the next 4 or 5 years and Brian Hayes costs a lot of money. If you have to, you can't unload that guy for prospects. No one's going to want him.
That's correct.
and you have to pay. So at some point, it's either if you got to get these young guys up sooner than you realized, then you're just cutting him and you're losing some money on that deal. And if not, then I guess you're stuck with Brian Hayes and it works out, but I don't know that anyone wins in that.
Yeah, that's the part of the move. Again, I get the baseball semantics of this. We got to have better infield defense. We got to have a better third baseman defensively. Noelvi cycled out of that spot, but we still like his bat, so let's find a place for it. And they have. He'll grow into being an outfielder, you hope, but I think he's done a little bit of that. But yeah, to your point, if this had been Brian Hayes with this year and next year on his deal, you go, okay, there's your stopgap. I'm fine with that. In fact, this goes into 2030. He's asinine.
Yeah, I don't really understand. It didn't fix their most immediate need. Yeah, they could use better defense in the infield, but their bigger issue was they needed hitting, and he can't do that at all. I don't really understand.
But I go back to it allowed you to take a poor infielder and move him into a spot in the outfield and carry that bat. I think that was part of it. Like, I think they believed that was going to service the outfield right-handed bat that they needed. Is it perfect? No. Again, the contract thing is the thing to me that makes this all wonky.
Yeah. I mean, that for sure is the bigger issue. So, all right, let's move on to Ask Anything. Got a couple questions for you to wrap this up. A couple of them are just some stories around the country that I wanted to talk to you about. The first was, did you see the Shedeur Sanders situation after their preseason game where he played very well? Then he confronted Tony Grossi, who's a radio host on ESPN Cleveland. Did you see this?
I did not. Tony Grossi's an interesting cat, though. He's kind of confrontational.
Yeah, so I guess what had actually happened, the video, which if you've been following Shedeur and Dion and that whole crew the last couple of years, the oldest, Dion Jr., records everything. Like it's just like a reality TV show. He's just constantly recording anything going on. The whole draft experience was recorded. They pushed that to YouTube and social media. So he was recording this interaction, and Tony Grossi had come up after a press conference, which is a common thing. Like, press conference ends, you want another question that not everyone else is going to write about. You go up and you grab the guy and say, hey, can I get one more with you? So he goes up to do that. And the part that made it to social media is Shedeur, you can kind of see him, and he looks like he's joking. They're laughing about it, but he says sort of like, Tony, I've never heard you say anything good about me. Like, I've never done anything to you, man. Could you just say one positive thing about me? Something along those lines, right? And so this became a big, not a confrontational thing, but a big story online where everyone was circulating this video. Grossi commented on it earlier this week on his show, or actually it was on like a social media video that he did. I thought he handled it well. He started to do something I hate, which he started to kind of go down the road of like, I was surprised Shedeur took his big night and made it about me. I was like, well, hold on. You approached him after a press conference. Yeah. You have been saying all this crap about him, I presume, for a while, given who Tony Grossi is and the types of things he likes to say. I'm sure he has been inflammatory and said a lot of negative stuff about Shedeur. Now you're talking to him face to face. He didn't call you out publicly. He didn't call you out on a podium. He waited until you approached him privately, and he said, hey, man, like, what's the deal with you? I've never done anything to you. And in a funny way, they're both laughing. I hate when media people act like they are above getting called out or spoken to about the things that they've said or written or what have you. What's your take on this whole, like, players approaching media members and confronting them about what they've said about them?
Yeah, and especially, I mean, it didn't sound like he was going to threaten to kick his ass, which is always a stupid thing to do, all that stuff. I mean, no, listen.
They're laughing, and Tony said they went on to have a good conversation after the video cut off too.
Yeah, so. No, I mean, listen, Tony says a lot of stuff. There's no question about it. He's no filter. But at some point in that regard, there's going to be somebody who's going to clap back at you, and you just have to, in my opinion, just take it with a grain of salt. Explain why you think that your point is your point. And maybe even tell the player, prove me wrong, man. You prove me wrong, I'm on your corner. And I think that's probably part of it with Shedeur of, listen, it's just always felt privileged, right? And, then woe is me. I got drafted in the 5th round, even though I crapped on a lot of other teams. And then to his credit, he balled out that night. It's one preseason game. Drew Plitt balled out one night. Again, I'm not here to tell you Shedeur Sanders is in the Drew Plitt category. My personal opinion is, if you look at Cleveland's schedule, their first 6 games are just a beast. I mean, a beast. And then the 7th game is a home game with Miami. It almost feels like the perfect storm of, let Joe Flacco take all the heat early in the season for why they suck. It's not his fault. He's an old man. That team is terrible. And then we'll let the kid finally settle in. I don't think he starts from game 1, nor should he. I think they'd be doing the kid a disservice.
Are you talking about Shedeur or Dylan Gabriel right now?
I'm talking more Shedeur. I just think Dillon Gabriel's too little. I hope I'm wrong there too, but I mean, they're supposed to carry all the quarterbacks to the 53 man, which is insane to me to carry 4 quarterbacks to the 53. Hell, most teams carry 2 and throw a guy on the practice squad. But doesn't sound like that's what Cleveland's going to do. I think at some point Shedeur starts this year. And good for him. And listen, I don't think anybody's rooting against him. I just think they feel like there's a privilege. I don't think anybody's rooting against him.
I think a lot of people are rooting against him and his dad. A lot of people. I think they got very sick of the media blitz that happened over the last 2 years.
Yeah. Only thing I can tell you is just watching him in college, he got the living crap beat out of him, and he just stood in there and took it every single week. I mean, he just did, and made a bunch of plays for a crappy football team, and good for him. Again, the draft thing, you can slap on him perhaps of, hey man, I told a bunch of teams I didn't want. Okay, great. And then when you're looking and going, well, he's only going to be a backup early in his career. You're not drafting a franchise quarterback for a lot of teams. You're drafting a backup. You ain't drafting a backup in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round probably. You're drafting a backup where you drafted the backup, maybe 3rd or 4th round. You could argue should have gone over Dillon Gabriel. I get that. That's a fair argument. But I'm not rooting against the kid. I'm fascinated to see how it works out. And again, the one thing about the National Football League, people can say what they want. It is literally a meritocracy. If you're good enough, you're going to play. If you're an undrafted free agent who opens, I was talking to Howard Cross, did a story on him, defensive tackle out of Notre Dame, Bengals undrafted free agent. His dad played in the league for 13 years. And I talked about, said, how much inspiration did you draw from your dad? He goes, I always was impressed with what my dad did. And, he never really pushed football on me. He goes, but my inspiration was a guy when he was doing radio, and he was an undrafted free agent, was Victor Cruz. He goes, I got to know Victor a little bit, and his story is just amazing that this guy came out of nowhere and finally just blew up on the scene. Unfortunately, injuries kind of robbed Victor Cruz of his career, but when he was healthy for the 3 years he was healthy, he was outstanding. He said, and Victor's message, and he goes, I think every NFL team plays, I know they played it here, of his message of, dude, if you get an opportunity, if you get 1 rep, 2 reps, 3 reps, you better go ball out and give yourself a chance to stay on the field. And I think that's the league. And so if Shedeur Sanders shows the Browns he's the best guy eventually, he's going to play.
Yeah, I feel that way for the most part too, that it's a meritocracy, and if you play well, you'll get on. But the draft was interesting because, I'm not a draft expert. I didn't, Jaden Daniels was a guy that didn't wow me in college. I have a hard time sometimes separating these college quarterbacks as prospects. When I watched Shedeur, though, I thought he was in that same category as almost any of the guys that were coming out last year. I didn't see all the first rounders and him as a 5th rounder. That didn't seem reasonable to me.
Right. But if the truth is he told teams X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, no thanks, I don't really want to go to your place. And then there are a chunk of teams that don't need a quarterback, don't even need a backup. Right. I heard Mike Tannenbaum the one night after the draft coming home ripping all 32 NFL teams. No offense, Mike, the Bengals don't need a backup. They've got a pretty capable guy in Jake Browning. And then they just brought in a guy who's started games as well in the league in Desmond Ridder, and has won games in the league in Desmond Ridder. Desmond's not had a good camp, mind you. But so I think it came to the point of the perfect storm of, well, he doesn't want to come here, so why the hell are we going to bother with this? Well, we don't need a backup. We don't need a 3rd guy. And I'm not spending a 3rd round pick on a 3rd guy or a back. I've got my guys. And so it kind of was a perfect, again, the Dillon Gabriel pick, you can argue, well, you weren't drafting Dillon Gabriel to be a starter. You're drafting him to be part of the mix.
That's why that argument doesn't hold a ton of weight with me. It very much had something to do with Shedeur being loud and a presence.
Sure, I think there was no doubt. But I'm guessing the Browns, when they got back to that 5th round pick and went, he's still on the board, and why not? Let's just go ahead and do this. We probably maybe should have done it before. Let's go ahead. So I get it. And so then now you get your opportunity. And to his credit, on Friday night, dude made the most of his opportunity. But you can't do it just once, man. You got to do it time and time and time and time again.
I have no idea how it's going to work out for him. I'm not saying he's going to be a great quarterback. I am a little surprised that there has been as much hate. I think it is almost exclusively because of the amount of media attention they got. It became almost like the Duke or Yankees on ESPN thing, right? People just hate them because they see it so often. But the amount of hate he gets for a guy who seems like a totally happy-go-lucky, never been in any type of trouble that I can recall.
Other than his speeding.
But that's not, come on. I can't recall any type of real incidents. He seems always very kind of like funny on camera and very laughing, joking around type of guy. It's surprising to me that so many people do seem set out like, I hate this guy, I hope he fails type of attitude towards it. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm following that storyline. It is, especially because of the whole draft and the way it worked out. I was kind of burnt out on the Shador Dion storyline while they were at Colorado midway through last year, but I'm kind of back in on it now. I'm very interested to see how he does in the pros.
But I will say, I mean, there could have been a flip side, right, to this early part of camp where he was an unmitigated disaster. It was like, oh, brother, this is exactly – it's been the exact opposite.
I think people were expecting that, especially after he was drafted so late. And then you see him like, they want it to happen because he shows up to the first game with music playing and the people filming him, and everyone's like, does this guy know he's drafted in the 5th round? That's like, well, I mean, here's the deal about the Sanders family. They have a whole other business going on with YouTube and reality TV and all these other things that they've been doing for years. That's like, they don't have to stop that just because he's in the NFL, even if it doesn't work out. Like Shiloh's going to be a multimillionaire just from being a streamer. He's going to get cut from an NFL team in the next year or two, probably. And he's going to have a huge career as a streamer after that because he's built up a giant following. So I don't think it's reasonable to be like, the world has changed a little bit. I don't think it's reasonable to get mad at people because they film themselves and put it on social media now.
Yeah, I've never understood the appeal for paying for that. I wouldn't pay a nickel for any of that crap.
Well, I mean, you're not paying. Like, if you go on his streams, then people are going to pay.
I wouldn't watch any of this for an advertiser to go, look at all these people watching this. It has literally no appeal for me.
That's fair. I don't think we're probably the intended targets for it because I don't watch it either. But there are millions of people doing it for some reason. So another national story I want to ask you about.
Yes.
Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer facing scrutiny for Venmo transactions back when he was a freshman at Washington State labeled sports gambling. One of the games referenced a specific game. I think it was like USC, UCLA, and the Venmo transaction was the following day after the game in 2022. He is now under scrutiny for that. What do you have on Oklahoma quarterback getting in trouble for sports gambling back in 22, right now in 2025?
So there's going to be a paper trail of some kind, you would think, if he did make the bet. So as you know, you're probably, I'm guessing you're in some pool stuff, right? Where you got to send somebody PayPal or Venmo money, right? And what do they usually tell you if you're in that pool? Don't mention gambling or pool or any of that stuff because it usually gets red flagged.
Right.
And so that's why, to me, where he says this was a joke among friends, there's a part of me that says, I kind of believe you, man. I actually kind of believe you for this.
So do I. You want to know what I think it is?
Go ahead.
I think he was buying drugs from his buddy. Like maybe just weed or whatever. But that's a very common thing, is like put a joke in the line. So what would a rational, if you're trying to hide what you're actually doing, what would a rational thing to be as a college student? I was gambling with you. I lost the bet to you. Here you go. Here's my.
I will say this. It's not really hard to put gift for Jim in there. I mean, I've never understood why that's so hard to put gift or something. That's usually what I do. Like,
I agree with you there, but I think in a college mind, that's something that would seem reasonable to be like, oh yeah, I'll just put that. I'll send you money for a bet since I bought my weed off of you, buddy.
Right. No,
I bet when he said the inside joke, it's one of two things. He's either completely lying and it's ridiculous because he's
I don't think he is, because I think there eventually you find a paper trail of where that bet was made and how that bet was made.
And if not, then I think this is what it is. I think he was probably buying weed or something off of a buddy, put down as gambling, and now the gambling is a bigger issue than the weed would have been.
Right.
It's hard to admit that or tell people that after the fact. So here's the other question. Is this an issue in 2025 that he put a bet in 2022, especially in the NIL era and all this sort of stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, if he did gamble on this and the bet was played, absolutely. I do. I think if you do that as an athlete, man, whatever scrutiny you face, shame on you. I don't know. Did you see the Michael Porter Jr.? There's a story on ESPN.com. He was on a podcast. You can help me with, I can't remember what the podcast was.
I don't know either. I just saw the clip.
But anyway, he was just talking about kind of his brother who got caught up in it and did the whole, I'm going to take myself out of a game, guys, and go make your money off of this. And he was paying off gambling debts. I thought he was pretty blunt of where he thinks gambling's going. Like, this is, I don't agree with it. I don't, but I understand it. I mean, listen, you and I both gamble. I don't do it to the degree I did it many years ago with a bookmaker, because I put my own money up front and I've learned how to be responsible enough with it, all those things. I think a chunk of people are. And I do think, listen, if you're putting a big enough bet and you're mad at a player because he ruined your bet, well, that's on you, bro. I mean, I'm sorry, that ain't on the player. It's never going to be on the player. Shut up about it. But I do think there are issues that are starting to come up. The Mateer one, though, to me, I go back to, I'm surprised Venmo didn't flag it then, because, like I said, they flagged that, or maybe it was right after
when you're getting a lot of activity.
What's that?
I think it's when you're getting a lot of activity. Like if your account is getting a bunch of transactions.
That's where the guys I know. Look. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. I mean, like guys I know that run pools, like if they're doing an NCAA tournament pool and there's 150 entries, then yes, you're getting a lot of activity and they're going to go, wait a minute, why are you getting all this activity?
Right. And if they all say NCAA pool, then it might be, it might get flagged. But even then I've seen people do that where they've taken 100 pool entries and I don't think they had any issue with it. So it's not like an automatic thing, but it can happen. But the one thing I will say to the people who are like, legalizing betting has caused this issue, I do think it has made it more prominent because there are more hanger-oners and people around you that realize they can quickly get on DraftKings and do something really stupid. But the flip side of that is if it's not legal and it's not able to be regulated and tracked as easily, then this stuff is still happening. Maybe not as frequently, but it's much harder to catch when it's happening because it's happening in a black market that you don't regulate and you don't have control of and you don't have all the technology. No question. If I were to regulate it further, though, the one thing I would tell you I would do away with is player props. I know they're popular. I know people love them. I think that's where you get it when you're dealing with a human being that could manipulate the market on his own. Now, listen, they could do it fixing games, and we've had fixed game scandals in the past, several of them. In the black market era, I think in today's day and age, I think if you saw a ton of bets coming in on one side, you would clearly red flag that as potentially being a fixed game. But for like players, it is stupid if they've told 10 buddies, hey, man, you can make some money off me because I'm going to take myself out for an injury. You tell one buddy, you're probably going to get away with it because it's just one guy. And who's going to tell you whether, hey, man, my ankle was hurt going in, it's really hurting now, and somebody's stupid enough to make player about it. For me, if you wanted to regulate this further, let's just do sides and totals and be done with it and get away with player props. Do I play player props? Sure do, but I think that's where you run into the issues. That's probably right. I would also say that would suck because that's, to me, the best part of betting is player props, and it's tough. And honestly, the thing I go back to is people get their frame broken and it ruins them when they find out like, yeah, some of this stuff might be rigged. Some of these guys might be on the take, all that. But what I always go back to is it's been happening forever. Sure. It always happened before. You just didn't realize about it because it wasn't in your face. This isn't a new issue, unfortunately. And I don't mean to besmirch officials by any stretch. You think Tim Donaghy's the only official that's ever on the take? I mean, exactly. I mean, refs are a bigger issue than the players, to be quite honest. That's a much bigger concern for me than players. Yeah, I mean, I know a bookmaker who was a football official. He swear he never did it. He goes, you know how much I could manipulate a game if I wanted to? I'm like, I do know that. So easily, without it even being that noticeable either. Just little flags, little fouls here and there, all these little things that can add up so quickly and change the game. Because a lot of that stuff's subjective. Like, what's it if I watched a play in practice today and they had officials at practice today, which I always think is fun to watch, right? Yeah. And Marco Wilson made a good play, I think he was on covering T. And Marco kind of bodied him up as he's running his route down the field. He didn't chuck him. He didn't push him, but he kind of bodied him up, and the ball sailed over both their heads out of bounds. And the referee in front of both of them did the incomplete. And everybody's like, yeah, Marco. I'm like, man, that looked about as close to illegal contact as you can come. And I guess I get it. I mean, nobody bitched about it. I mean, T didn't say anything about it. Like, he understood, I guess, there was some physical contact, but if that flag had been thrown, I would have gone, sure, I know why the flag was thrown. I mean, he's bodying him up down the field. That's illegal contact. Yeah, and those types of calls, holding, pass interference, any of that type of stuff, you could call on every play in the NFL if you wanted to, and it really only takes like 2 third down calls that you throw a flag on, and you've changed the game. It's over. Like, I mean, it's that simple from a betting perspective. So, yeah. I think we've got a couple other topics that people asked. We'll get to them next week because we're way over an hour already on this podcast. No, we are. The John Mateer one really fascinating because in my mind, I'm like, dude, if you put gambling in the thing, you weren't gambling. It was something else because again, you're smart enough to understand you're going to get red flagged for that. I actually agree with that. I really, the first thing that came to my mind was like weed. He was buying weed from a buddy and he put gambling, and now it's a bigger issue than the weed was. Yeah, that's funny. That's good stuff. All right. Thanks as always for the questions. Again, as Rick said, we got a couple of holdovers for next week. Please be sure to send some more. We'll have a Bengals preseason game to talk about when they play Washington on Monday. We'll have the preseason finale coming up. We'll probably look at where the 53-man roster is going and much, much more. For Rick Broering, I'm Richard Skinner. It's been the Skinny Podcast, the weekly potpourri edition presented by Blake, the Attorney Maislin.